Okay, so we are officially live. I am going to adjust my Facebook. I always realize that because I point this to Facebook, that Facebook automatically doesn't show it to anybody unless you adjust it. So, having said that, I am James, the Ascension Coach, here again with these lovely ladies who I'm going to let introduce themselves, starting with Dr. Melissa.
Hi, everybody. I'm Dr. Melissa Robinson Weinmiller, and I have been crowned the empathy queen. I promise I didn't crown myself, but I've decided I kind of like it. So I'm going to stick with it because, it works for me. So why not? Life is short. So what I do is I teach EQ, but I do it via empathy. I use empathy as the means to be able to reach in and get these EQ skills out of leaders and then actually make it actionable so that you can improve innovation, you can improve productivity, and you can improve profit. So this actually is something that is not just helpful, but like imperative in the modern business world. So that's my role. I'm going to hand it on to Lisa.
Thank you. And well, good morning from Australia in Tomorrowland here. Uh, I my main mission is I really want to impact a million heart-centered entrepreneurs, professionals, and leaders to become limitless. that is the essence of it. But from a powerful fusion of business strategy, of neuroscience and quantum science, to understand that we literally operate from generally a point of not enoughness and fear. And what I help people do is overcome all of those barriers, and most of them are hidden and they don't even know that they're running, and have them become a very powerful leader in their own life, their business, and to basically make their $1 million dreams come to life and become limitless as well, because we're unlimited potential, right, James? Over to you.
that's, that's right. Thank you for bringing it back to me because I realized when I introduced myself, I said nothing. I'm listening to Melissa. I'm listening to Melissa. I'm like, I didn't say anything. Then I listened to Lisa.
The
I'm like,
message
what
is
is
in the silence. The power is in the silence. Trust me, my friend.
there you go. So I am again, I am the Ascension Coach, and I help people connect with higher states of consciousness, align with their higher self, and discover their soul's purpose. And I do that by directing people to their soul. Oftentimes, we're over preoccupied with the body, what we're going to eat, what we're going to wear, how we're going to live, but we often are neglecting our soul, where the true power lies, the true answer lies. And so that is what I do as a Ascension Coach. Now, today we are talking about monsters today. And more specifically, we're talking about the self doubt monster. And I don't know if Lisa has a monster prop
No,
for
not
today.
today. It's in a box somewhere. There you go.
She's her own props today.
She's her own prop
Props for the
today.
props.
Right, right. So we're gonna talk about how to overcome self doubt in your business, so that we can, as Melissa and Lisa talked about, become limitless in our business. So I believe that was a topic, Lisa, that you came up with. So do you want to expound on that as we go?
Yes, sure. And I think this really parlays really well with we we spoke about fear driving your emotional intelligence, and so this is at the moment a 6-week series, which may turn into an infinite series, which is a work in progress. So you can go back and actually watch those specific things. So I'm not going to spend too much time on that, but we live in such a consumption world now. And I'll get my little notes here. I just sharing with you all that I never wear makeup. And today I actually have some concealer around my eyes because I look like a panda. I've just moved house and
No,
well, without it on, I do, trust me.
no.
But pandas are cute anyway. I was going to say raccoon, but a panda's more cute. And so I've taken notes to keep me on track here. But James, I loved in the description how you said it's a scourge of really modern day life, and when we can't even stop for a moment to reflect and look at how amazing we are, we tend to keep looking outside there of all the things going on, all the comparison. And in business, I've been in business for 20 years. And one of the things that I promised myself when I became an entrepreneur is I was going to back myself a gazillion %. I was going to burn the bridges of my old life. I was going to jump off the cliff without the parachute, as I've always done, trusting that somewhere before I hit the ground, I'm going to get that parachute. But I know I'm going to get bumped and dented and scratched along the way because that's just part of the journey. But because you know, I keep coming back to the childhood thing because I grew up in a very abusive environment. So my life was literally survival mode. And when you are growing up as a little kid, we almost get put in a little protective bubble. Don't touch this, don't do that. And so already you're putting this barrier up around yourself. And if you wanted to do something, oh, you can't do that. And so these little things of, oh, why can't I do that? Why aren't I allowed to do that? Because little kiddies are just filling up their database of life experiences. And so when we're told, oh, you can't do that because you might get hurt, or you might waste your money. All of these messages are coming in, and so this is programming us that, oh, well, maybe I really aren't making the right decisions. I'm not making the right choices. So uncertainty, and humans don't do well with uncertainty. Would you guys agree? Because we want to know what's happening, where we're going, and when we don't know. Right now, my life is in a great degree of uncertainty because there's a lot of stuff going on, and it's been really a massive wave of things going on since last October because my sister killed herself. So, there's been a massive wave of uncharted territory since then. But because I've been so programmed to understand that uncertainty can be a positive thing because you're constantly in problem solving mode. Remember, up here, inside, I don't have my brain. It's in a box somewhere. Well, my real one's in here. My plastic one's in a box. Just to clarify that neuroplasticity is that basically the brain is constantly rewiring and trying to make connections if you're in learning mode. But what the scourge of 21st century living, especially in business, is, I'm going to reference Jim Quick's book Limitless. He had a head injury as a little boy, and he was labeled the boy with the broken brain. And if you Google Jim Quick, Kwik, you will understand that he decided that he would become limitless and prove everybody wrong. And he's now a multimillionaire. He's part of Mind Valley and, just an amazing, amazing man. But he spoke about the 4 villains of modern society. And this goes for everybody, not just business owners, because uncertainty is part of being in business. And so you have to learn how to back your own ideas and then go with it. But the first one is the digital deluge. It's the unending flood of information, of consumption. We are a consumption society of over-consuming food, over-consuming media, over-consuming a lot of really unhealthy things. The second one is digital distraction, and it's the fleeting ping of our notifications just to get that quick dopamine effect. And our brain, it's frying our circuits because it's making such an unhealthy, mess my hair up there, making such an unhealthy function of our brain. The next one is digital dementia. Because we are so busy and not using our brain effectively anymore, atrophy occurs. It actually shrinks. There you go. Love Limitless. Yeah, it's an amazing book. So, you know, if you get an e-bike, you're not going to get fit. You're going to get from A to B, but no exercise in between. You got to use your noggin for it to actually not shrink. And the fourth one is digital deduction. Basically, we've handed our power over to this. We have stopped thinking and Google search everything within a nanosecond. So the fact that we can't even think for ourselves, of course, we're going to have a lot of self-doubt. And so there's a lot of things that we need to do to come back to honor ourselves and our decisions and the little micro choices that we make to say, hey, I need a map, I need a plan, I need to take action, I need to understand that the path is not paved as an entrepreneur. You've got to pave it. And so as long as you've got your big vision and your mission, then you're going to do okay. And I'm going to end on this part is when I went from basically my 20 years was a belly to belly style business. Plus I had a very small online component. So I had no online presence at all, apart from the community that I built, and we did, you know, internal training. And the last 2 years, because I'm a doer, I take action, I jump off the cliff and prepared to land however, because I'm going to learn along the way. I embrace failure with excitement and enthusiasm because I know that I'm taking lessons of how to get this done. And so I spent almost, and I'm not alone here because I know there are so many people out there. I spent almost 6 figures over the last 2 years taking online courses and putting my trust into other people to teach me the online world. I got burnt many, many times. And the fact was my intuition, my guidance of what I believed was the path, all of these people were telling me to do it differently. And that doesn't work. You have to actually be connected to what you want. There was actually a class action with one lady as well, because she was a very good thief. She was a very good fraud. And you know, we're handing over thousands of dollars to these people and trusting that we're going to get the right answer. My friends, you have the right answer within you. So don't doubt that. And just be connected to the people who are vibing on your vibe, who are doing what you're doing. My mentors taught me, especially Mr. Jim Rohn, connect to people who are doing what you want to do better than you and follow their lead. And then your path will start to be paved. The end.
Why you say like you read us a book? But we all can go to sleep now. But
wasn't that boring? Oh my God, sorry.
No. I'm only making it like as if
I know what you mean. I know what you mean.
Well, Melissa, Dr. Melissa, you want to go or you want me to go?
I can go. It's
Okay.
fine by me. So first, I want to say, hey, I see Chasen, I see Dee, I see Ollie, I see some awesome people out there in the audience here to listen to us. So I just want to say thank you for joining us, and always to the Hounds of Business who put us together. I mean, we can't forget that, right? Gotta put that shout out there. So you've said so many things that I could piggyback on. And again, I think that's really the power of our trio, is that we approach these things from three different angles, and yet somehow we always manage to come to the same solutions, which I think says a lot for, the way of the universe and how this all works. So first thing I wanted to piggyback on is you were talking about change and the never ending, the only two constants in the universe are hydrogen and change, right? So as a change management practitioner, because I also do that and have done that, I have certifications from the Association of Change Management Professionals. There are ways to be able to approach this, but one of the best ways to approach change is first to be very sure and very grounded of where you're beginning. So this goes back to that self-doubt monster in leadership, to be able to self-reflect and understand who you are and what you are. It's harder to have self-doubt when there's no doubt about who you are and what you're about. And also understanding that there is power in change. That's when things go from one point to the next. That's how we have forward motion. Being able to address that change and do it in a way that you understand as a leader that it doesn't make you weak, that it doesn't mean that you can't do it, that it doesn't show any kind of lack of strength or fortitude or anything like that at all, but rather just that you are willing to embrace that change, and you understand that through change is growth, even when it's painful. And in order to embrace that change, the first thing you have to be willing to do is self-reflect and understand who you are and what you're about, to be able to lay that foundation. And along with the uncertainty, I think this is actually a good place to point to some of the reasons why people are unwilling to face that within themselves with this self-reflection. And one thing that I see come up again and again and again is shame.
Yeah.
They don't want to admit that they don't know everything. They don't want to admit that they aren't the strongest. They have shame from believing who they are, probably a misrepresentation that I can't do this, or I need to hide who I really am, or I'm the leader, I have to be strong. And I mean, this goes back to the work by Brené Brown. I mean, she built her whole career on understanding shame and how that works. But the best way to understand shame is to bring it into the light, to self-reflect, to be open with this and understanding that through change comes growth. So the quickest way to combat shame isn't to choke it down and keep it in the dark, to get rid of that self-doubt. It's to bring it into the light. The only way to get rid of the shadow is to give it light.
Yes. And Melissa, I love the fact that you said the growing pains of change. It's just like growing pains of growing up, and because you're changing. And so we have to understand that that's just part of the process. And when we're aware of it, because you don't know what you don't know, right? When we're aware of all of this, then you can say, oh, that's right. I was told this, I was going to feel this. And so I think the awareness side of things, and James, you're definitely all about the consciousness, is it's awareness, which helps us just take a breather and say, well, okay, this is okay, even though I don't feel okay, but it's part of the process.
Yes. We're all doing the best we can with what we have at the time, and there's no shame in that.
Yeah, yeah. You know, when the topic was brought forth, the first thing I thought about was, who is the self that is doubting? And even as I've listened to you two, even as you implied, Lisa, when I talk about consciousness, awareness, I've heard Melissa say light, and both of you talked about really kind of going within and knowing who you are. And really, for me, that's the crux of it. Am I the self that's doubting, which is really just a story, which is really just the ego? Or am I something infinitely greater that doesn't even know what doubt is? That is just confidence and courage and 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 just boldness and so forth. And so for me, it's putting space between that voice in my head that's doubting and going, wait. And it's really just about inquiring and asking questions. Who is the one that's doubting? Or who said I can't be successful at this? Like, where does that even come from? So I was addressing someone yesterday, or I was addressing a post that I had made yesterday, and I was saying we have to start questioning the voice in our head. Is that, and again, it's in alignment with what Lisa and Dr. Melissa talked about, and knowing yourself, because you eventually come to the conclusion, wait, that's not me. That's not me. And more times than not, it's the voice from the past. Somewhere, someone said you can't be successful doing this. Usually it's related to very early childhood, or you felt like, where you made it feel like you have to perform, or you had to reach some plateau in order to be deemed successful. And those voices were planted, or we received those voices usually from people who didn't know who they were.
Yeah.
Right. So we have an opportunity to kind of break that mold, kind of heal that disconnect, and going, and I do hypnotherapy. And one of the things that I do in my hypnotherapy with people is really separating that early experience from who they are now. And one of the things I have people say is, that's not me.
Mm.
And so if we set even with that for a moment, we can begin to dissolve self-doubt just from there, and even knowing who the self is that's doubting versus who is our true self.
I've taken some notes here. Did you want to say something, Melissa?
No, I'm just, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's, I love that, James, because, you know, it's actually, it's not your fault until you're aware. And so we just fumble through life with all of these programs that don't even belong to us because it's generational. We learnt this stuff from somewhere. And I go back to a child wearing, and I know Dee's online, a Superman outfit or a Batman outfit, or they want to be an astronaut or they want to be a doctor. They don't know they can't do it until their parents say, oh, you know, we won't be able to afford to have you go to university, so you better think of a different career. You know, they don't know. And so it's not your fault until you're aware, and then it's 100% your responsibility to start on a new path of undoing all of that programming that somebody else put in you. And the courage and confidence thing, you really, in my opinion, it's a 5-second breath of courage and do it. You know, Mel Robbins' 5-second rule, like, good on her for making gazillions out of something that we can all do, and take 5 seconds of courage and take that step, because courage builds confidence. It's not the other way around. You actually have to have courage to start doing things, to then get the wins, to build the confidence, because the only thing that will bring on confidence is action. And therefore, go for it, Melissa.
I didn't mean to cut you off. I thought.
I'm done.
I'm sorry. All right. We need a referee.
Yeah, you put your little buzzer on, or hand up. Can I go next, please?
No, I was just thinking, and here's a name that probably a lot of people here know, Napoleon Hill. He talks about inspirational dissatisfaction. So when you're thinking about adult learning, right, first you have to have the awareness that there's a gap in the education, then you have to have the desire to overcome that. And then you can gain the knowledge. But if you don't have the awareness, you're not going to have the desire. And if you don't have the desire, you're never going to gain the knowledge. So it's this idea of having this hill, right? And you have to be so dissatisfied that you're inspired, you have the desire to get up and over that hill. So having that inspirational dissatisfaction, exactly like you're saying, is what it takes for adults to be able to be aware and say, yeah, not only is there something wrong here, but I need to take the responsibility to get over it because I am so dissatisfied with how it is now that I'm willing to get over that hump. You know?
Yeah, and yeah, and sometimes I think those experiences show up, maybe and again, I've always talked from a place of soul. I think soul helps us create those experiences so that we can get to the point where we go, that's that's enough of this. There has to be a different way to do this, and now we are kind of appropriating that power that we are to overcome that heel. But I think we create that heel so that, and I talk about contrast. We create what we are not so that we can remember who we are. That this heel is nothing, and I have the power to overcome it. And I know most times when we look at things like doubt or the obstacles in our way, there are those who crumble at the appearance of it. And there we go in the woe is me and the whatever. But really, what if it's there to remind you that you are greater than that? And it's the appearance of that that almost drives you within yourself to find that which is greater than that. So that's how I look at it.
Mm. Yeah. And that reminds me of a post I did recently where I spoke, it was a Bob Marley quote, is you don't know how strong you are until strong is your only option. And it's when your back's against the wall. And would I be correct in saying we've all experienced some sort of homelessness?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
So we've been at the bottom, face down in the mud, and just went, oh, right, okay. Time to take that 5-second breath of courage and take one step. What's the right next step? And so, we're called super genius masterminds because we've lived through a lot. And of course, there's people far worse out there. And I honor that and I respect that. But we're here to share our gems of life experience of being face down in the mud many times. And we've grown from those lessons and this wisdom. And I would like to share Jim Rohn's ant theory. And I think this is such a beautiful analogy. And I reference this all of the time because life always happens, and people always, it's like someday, honey. It's Tony Robbins thing going through my head. Someday never comes. I'll start that when this is fixed, when this is better. I'll do that when I don't have that in the way. I'll do that when I have more finances. And so we keep putting off all of these things because there's obstacles in our way, but life is always going to happen, right? Like there's always going to be obstacles. So embrace that part as well. That's really important. But the ant theory, you think of the ant's job, all the little worker ants, and hands up if you were guilty as a child that you would see this little trail of ants and then you would put a stick in front of it and try and block their pathway. Or yeah, you did, didn't you? Yeah,
Yeah, I did.
Stop telling on us, Lisa. Stop telling on us.
Oh, do you still do it, James? So, and their only mission is to make sure the queen survives. She's fed, she's protected. They go out on their job every day. They will put their life on the line by curious little kids, plus bug spray. However, the ant theory is an ant will see an obstacle and then they will try to go over it. If they cannot go over it, they will try and go around it. If they can't go around it, they will try to burrow under it. If they can't burrow under it, they will burrow through it. And if you watch David Attenborough, which I have many years, who puts little cameras down into ants' nests and like there's cavities everywhere, like this amazing network of all sorts of pathways and channels, and they've had to burrow through earth and rock to make those particular things. And so I think that's a really important message for not just people in business. Self-doubt is just made up. It's just a story, and you don't own that crap. So, just let it go, basically. It's hard, but you just, when self-doubt comes up, just say, that's not mine. Who gave that to me? and so take 5 seconds of a deep breath and go again.
Well, my buzzer. Okay. Well, it comes back to the Tao of Pooh, right? Has anybody, the Winnie the Pooh books? What Christopher Robin told him: you are stronger, smarter, and better than you realize.
Yeah. I love that book. In fact, I picked it up and started reading it again the other day.
The wisdom, the Tao of Pooh. What's wrong with that? There's good wisdom in there.
And live in anticipation. What did Pooh always live in anticipation of? His pot of honey. Yep. It wasn't eating the honey. It was the anticipation of getting the pot of honey.
Yeah. Even when Eeyore was kind of a downer, he still.
What just happened here? What live did I walk into just now? I don't walk into the wrong live with a different Melissa and Lisa in here.
Have you not read the Tao of Pooh?
I saw that recently and I said I have to read that, but no, I haven't read it.
Yeah,
I haven't read it. But
it's so sweet.
Yes,
I love how you're bringing it out, and it reminds me of expectations. Like, what are our expectations, and how? And you with the ants, I love that because it says when I see the perceived obstacle, how am I going to respond? If we don't close the sale that looks so promising, how are we going to respond? Because I think in one of these lives I've done here recently, I talked about, at least I've been talking about for at least years now, about experience, react, and experience, that if I'm looking at this obstacle or I'm looking at a sale maybe I didn't close or something that looked promising that didn't work out, my reaction now determines what my tomorrow looks like. And so if I can still draw to myself that I'm amazing, I'm great at what I do, this has no bearing on that. Now I'm opening up myself for what comes tomorrow. But if I'm like, here we go again, and what is it about me, and why am I able to do this? And they say they were going to do X, Y, Z. That's the story that's going to keep playing tomorrow and the day after tomorrow and the day after tomorrow, instead of, like Lisa said, finding a way to respond appropriately as the ants do when they come across what, again, are perceived to be obstacles.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Well, at what point do you start pulling that to yourself subconsciously too? I mean, whether you want to believe you're pulling it in energetically, whether you want to believe that you've created these underlying, mental paths and now the subconscious is pulling it in, however you care to think of it, if you continue to be in that mindset, if you do what you've always done, you're going to have what you've always had.
Yeah. Don't eat in the library. Ants will come in, and that will
Period.
So funny, Ollie. I love your
self-doubt. Yeah. I
I'm
love
sorry,
reading
I was
Ollie's
reading
comments.
Ollie's
I
comment.
I try to make sure I get them all on here because he's funny. But I do want to touch on kind of, I think, Lisa, you came out the gate talking about this, the uncertainty and the unknown. And I think it requires us to begin to cultivate more and more being comfortable with the unknown. I know some people, they don't even like surprise parties or anything. They want to, as Lisa, you talked about, we want to know what's coming. And, if we had I think I saw something that said we had a crystal ball of being able to go back and change the past or know what's coming in the future. Most people are wanting to know what's going to come in the future. But here's the thing. Right now, this present moment is all we have. And if you even open up yourself to anything is possible, it requires stepping into the unknown. It requires embracing the uncertainty. And I know that's not the easiest thing. I know it's not the easiest thing. That's why I use words like cultivating. But if I can just wake up in the morning going, you know what, today's going to be an amazing day. I don't know what's coming, but I know it's going to be great. That's far better than, trying to control outcomes to some extent, right? Because we're probably going to lose more times than we're going to win.
And
But if
it's
I can just be,
exhausting.
and it's exhausting. It is exhausting mentally and emotionally, and even to some degree physically exhausting trying to control outcomes. But I think it requires, and I know Dr. Melissa and Lisa both ascribe to this as well, there has to be some belief that this is a friendly universe, that no matter what shows up, it's showing up for us. And if we can, whether it's cultivating being okay with the uncertainty or whether it's just the belief that, wait, whatever entity or deity that you subscribe to or don't subscribe to, that, or just the universe loves me. The universe wants the best for me. And I can sit back and be okay with that. That makes embracing the uncertainty a little bit easier. But again, I'm not saying that you come out the gate this way, but it needs to be cultivated over what we call time.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
And if it was easy, there wouldn't be an entire discipline of change management that's built up around it. I mean, obviously, this is not going to be easy, but that doesn't mean that we still shouldn't hit it head on.
And life would be really boring if we knew what was going to happen and it was going to be easy.
Yeah, boring.
Yeah. Exactly. Like even think about the day before Mike brought us together. Like we had no idea. There was nothing about this being on the horizon, but boom, look at the great surprise that we experienced just being open to new experiences.
Yeah.
And so if we approach life from that perspective, from that way, amazing-ish will show up for us in our lives as we go about this journey. And again, it's just about cultivating being okay with uncertainty.
Yeah.
A beautiful, beautiful way to end it, I think.
Yeah. So I'm not sure what our topic is next week, but it looks like we got some new faces. Dr. Catherine, another one of the hounds, one of the beautiful hounds is here. Ali, Jason says, Ali, you are awesome. But as I always say, if there's something specific, because I think Lisa and Melissa and I, we just enjoy, I always say we're in a playground. Like we just enjoy playing together and everyone's invited. So when we hop on here, it is, fun is very much a part of the business plan when we hop on here. But we do want to extend the invitation that if there's something that you want to touch on, something that you may be struggling with, or whether it's mentally, emotionally kind of getting around, we are here to address that in a very playful, fun way, which I love about us. Otherwise, we have amazing topics that we're going to roll out. I think we have 2 more weeks of this before we decide where we're going to go from here. As Lisa said, it could be infinity. It's going to look like something bigger than this, but it could be infinity. But yeah, so if you have any ideas, let us know.
I just had a flash of Buzz Lightyears in my head. To infinity and beyond.
And that's how you know that we are kids at heart. We've talked about Winnie the Pooh. We've talked about Buzz Lightyear.
My partner Brad said to me a little while ago. He said, "I really miss the fact that the girls are grown up now, and because we would have Friday night TV night, like they could pick a movie, and so it was normally a Pixar movie or something, and there's so many grown-up stories within those child movies, like they're so meaningful." But I just said, well, I still watch them. I don't need the girls. You know, if it's Friday night and that's my chill night, one of the Disney pictures come on, like I'm there. I just like, yeah, love it. And it's just so just bring playtime back in, bring dreaming back into your life, and that crushes a whole lot of self-doubt, trust me, because you look at a child's just amazement about the world and the galaxy, like Earth is this tiny speck at night in the night sky tonight. Go look outside and just think, this is infinitesimal. Earth is this tiny little ball spinning around in space, and it's unlimited. So are we. The end.
And I think we need some other props, not different, some additional props, a Buzz Lightyear and a Winnie the Pooh. And I think I see this on the horizon.
Do I see a bring your toy to work day coming up?
Yes.
You know what I found in because I've just moved house in all the boxes. I found the fancy dress box. So you never know how I'm going to turn up next week.
Excellent. That would be fantastic.
I love it. I love it. So having said that, we all just want to wish you an amazing, productive week. And we definitely look forward to seeing you again for more shenanigans next Monday. So have an amazing week, and we will talk to you all soon. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.